Good morning, Starseeds. I'm Dr. Gail, and I'm a Starseed healer. Today is part 2 of the Spaceship Athena. Now, the Athena is an Arcturian spaceship, and if y'all haven't seen the first video, go ahead, go back and check that out. It talks about the Athena, and as I said, it's an Arcturian spaceship, and it's actually a trauma center, a hospital spaceship, where we deal with lots of traumas that come in from big events that happen on Earth. Now, I'm going to be talking about a specific area. Also, let me first talk about the colors of the spaceship. And that, since it is a lot of species in the spaceship, they have toned down the colors that they normally have on their own spaceship. So this one has like white with a blue hue to it, or it goes to light blue. And then there's certain areas like that has a soft gold tones to it. But on the regular spaceship, their colors are just, it's my favorite spaceship. They're absolutely beautiful, the colors. And there are blues, purples with amber places or colors on it. And it's absolutely beautiful. But this spaceship, the Athena, they have toned down the colors just because it's a multi-species spaceship. Now, the area I want to talk to you about today is called the transition unit. And the transition unit sits off of the surgical suite. It almost looks like the recovery room, but it's not the recovery room. But it is it's called the transition unit. Now you walk in there and of course it's during a trauma, and there's lots of patients in there, lots of people taking care of them. But the most fascinating part about it is it's an area that they're talking about transitioning. And they have all these therapists that are in there talking to them about that. It's like a one-on-one, talking about what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in your body? Do you want to repair this body? Or do you want to transition into another life, another body? And they get that choice there. And so they have people there helping them make those decisions, which way they want to go. Now, there is a special group of people that when it comes to trauma, that they are considered the transition team, and they have their own group of spaceships. But when it comes to a big event, they come in to help on assisting on the transition. So when they're in there, and the therapists have discussed on which way we want to go, if they do want to transition, the transition team comes in and takes over, and they take them to a different area to help them transition. And I think, I'm wondering if this is where people have their NDE events. I'm not real sure, but it seems like the way people talk about those near-death experiences, that it's could be very well when they're meeting this team, the transition team, and deciding what they want to do. Also, the ones that decide that they want to stay in their bodies and want to repair them, we take them to another area, and it is, I'm going to be looking down at my notes, and it is called the restoration unit. So we take them to the restoration unit, and there are 2 types of tanks in there. And one of the tanks is the upright tanks, and you see a lot of that on all of our sci-fi shows, and it kind of has a dome top to it. And that is what they call their cloning. Those are where the clones are. That's their cloning center or cloning units. And the other ones look like round, above ground pools, and they're small. And they have ladders that are on the side of it that you can go up and look inside the tanks. And this is where their body goes in and their soul is separated. Their soul or light body or whatever you want to call it is above them while this body is being repaired in this small tank. Now they're in a kind of like a semi-fetal position on their side with a lot of tubes coming out of it. And that's where their body's been repaired. Now, when we are, it's usually like 2 or 3 days afterwards that these, and usually the ones that are in these tanks are soldiers. And that's what I've seen mostly, is the soldiers are coming in and getting their own bodies rejuvenated, they're called rejuvenating tanks. And so when they come in, it was like a day after a big trauma. I'm just going to talk about my first experience with this area. The first day after a trauma, I was called down there all the time because the new soldiers that had been injured were not familiar with this technique, and they were freaking out I'm not so sure I would have been any different if my soul was sitting up above my body. I'm looking down at it, seeing it being in this tank. I'm not sure I wouldn't be freaking out too. But I was called down there all the time to help calm down the soldier who was being treated. And the new ones that came in had to be back within their body in 2 to 3 days. The older soldiers who had been through this, they could last, I think, I'm not real sure about this, but I think they can last months like that, their soul separated from in their body in their tank. And of course they're much calmer. But that was just fascinating how you go in there and you see all these bodies lined up. And I would climb up on the ladder and look at their bodies, and I would talk to them above and talk to about their progress or how their bodies were doing. Now, also there's another team of spaceships that comes in to help when it comes to trauma. And this is the interplanetary liaison team that comes in. And the interplanetary liaison, what their job is they, when they're healed and they're ready to go back to their planet or their spaceship or wherever they came from or wherever they want to go, they take over and they go deliver the patients back to where they belong. Now, sometimes it does take a diplomatic approach, talking about what has happened. Maybe the patient didn't tell their family or wherever they were, what they were doing. Anyway, so the interplanetary liaison team helps with that. And as I said, sometimes it takes a diplomatic approach on taking them back. But anyway, that's my story today. That's the Athena. That is part 2 of the Athena. I hope y'all enjoyed it. My name is Dr. Gail, and I'm a star seed healer. Thanks. Bye-bye.